Greetings everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with the big AMD GX-Z9100 machine and we're going to try to get this wow and flutter issue under control. Now it's been quite a ride with this thing. I still can't believe how good this thing sounds. It's like a CD player with tape hiss, and if you pull in Dolby C, the tape hiss goes away, so it's kind of freaky in a way, but yeah, today we're going to try to get this wow and flutter stuff under control. And before we get into what I think the actual problem is, it's neither the capacitors nor the springs in the door, I think. We'll find out for sure in this video. But before we get to that, I want to talk about capacitors for a little bit, because I decided to go ahead and recap the motherboard off camera several days ago, just to see what would happen, and also just to see what the pre-existing yellow ASI capacitors were like. And I'll show you what I've got in there now. The motherboard is currently running these two parts. These are Nikon UKA series. They're audio grade, but they're also automotive quality capacitors. So they're 105 degree. Should do the job just fine, and they are doing the job just fine. A lot of people say the UKA series is one below the fine gold series, so I don't mind using them in a direct drive motherboard, but I want to talk about just what the factory capacitors were like. I've got them right here, and I've got a couple of new UKA parts right here. Before we get to that, before I forget about it, I want to pull this door off, because we need it off to do all the sciencey stuff we're sciencing up today. Anyhow, I'm going to show you how these old parts measured. Okay, so we've got 44.88 microfarads, 1.3 ohms ESR, and 3.8% V-loss. So these are measuring that way. Now let me get one of these UKA capacitors out now. We'll measure that one too. So 45.45 ESR is half the value that the old ones were, and V-loss is 1.2%. So maybe about a third the leakage and half the ESR. So I thought, great, that surely will solve the problem, won't it? Well, I got some footage of the wow and flutter on this machine after I did that recap, and I'm showing it to you now. And I bet you're saying, after looking at this footage, that, great, you found the problem, didn't you? Well, no, I didn't. See, this machine was having a particularly good day that day. I decided not to run with just those results and take them for granted. I decided I wanted to come back over a few days and test the wow and flutter over and over just to see what happened. And by the way, that's with my Fix Your Audio reference tape. But when I came back to it a couple days later, it was back at 0.1%, and I thought, what the heck is going on here? So what I did was, I went back to Hi-Fi Rules' channel and looked over his videos of his EV version, and turns out he had the same problem with his machine. And I'm betting the cause of that machine screwing up is the same cause that's going on here. I bet it's the same problem, and I bet it has nothing to do with this door at all. So that's what we're going to check out next. I want to rule this out. So what I need to do in order to check on this is I need to power off the machine and pull the front off. I've never done this before. Oh good, comes away easily enough. You can do this from the bottom, but I think it's just as easy to do it from the top or from the front. I think. Not sure, let me just check here. Basically what I think we've got going on here is we've got a cam misalignment. You'll remember that I've got this printout here of all the cam positions, and there's an adjustment procedure down here. We've got a low voltage and a high voltage. And yeah, I just think some of these alignment marks are off now. I suspect that's what's going on. Now, I hope I can see these alignment marks. With a machine like this, I can't really tell. Can you tell? I can't see anything in there. Yeah, this ain't gonna work. Let me put the front back on this and we'll get the bottom plate off and we'll do it that way. So I realized I was kind of jumping the gun on this. We're gonna do a quick check of the wound flutter as it currently sits before even trying to do anything with this cam gear. I just want to see how well it's running today. And also I wanted to mention that there's another accomplished YouTuber by the name of LT Tapehead Service that commented on my last video on this machine and basically confirmed everything that I suspected from the Hi-Fi Rules machine or video or whatnot. So yeah, couple of awesome channels you should go subscribe to right now. LT Tapehead Service and Hi-Fi Rules. These guys really know what they're doing. Anyhow, what I'm going to do for now, because I don't want any tapes to be destroyed, especially my reference wound flutter tape, I'm going to use this one the Technics made. It's still running at the wrong frequency, but it will do for this test. Okay, here we go. Looks like it's having a pretty good day today. 0.06, 0.07 maybe. It's doing all right. And I'm sure you're thinking that it's great to see the frequency at 2997, but remember, that's the wrong frequency. It should be running at 3014 or something like that, similar to the Technics runs at. Okay, so that's our control. Remember that. Now I'm going to get the bottom cover off, and we'll check that cam gear. Here we go. Machine is on its side, and hopefully you guys can see the cam gear. It looks a little out of focus to me, but I don't know. Can I get it to focus? Yes, I can. Okay, now since the machine is on its side right now, I'm actually holding a flashlight from behind so you can see this better. Now, I'm going to turn on the machine now. We cannot eject because I do not want my tape to fall out, but we're going to watch and see where the stop alignment mark ends up. Do you see it? Because I don't see it. Okay, I see it now. Let me see if I can get a pointing stick or doohickey here. It's really hard to make out. The stop alignment mark is way up over here, and it should be down here. Or no, wait, is that the stop mark? There's another one here. Let's go into play. Okay, yes, the play mark is over here, and it should be over here. So yes, this is out of alignment. Okay, I see what's going on now. Both the stop and play marks are out of alignment. This is the stop mark right here. It needs to be over here, so we're going to adjust the high voltage pot only. The reason I'm going to do it that way and not do the full realignment right now is because I believe the low voltage one is on target yet. And the reason I believe that is because the distance between this alignment mark and the one on the cam gear is the same as the distance between the same marks on the play mode. So I'm not sure exactly how easy it's going to be to adjust this, but let me see if I can get my tool here on the appropriate adjustment. Okay, we want VR1. And we want the machine on in stop mode, and I'm going to adjust on this till we get that mark to line up. There we go. I'm going to leave my tool hanging there, and we're going to go into play mode. That is not lined up. Wow, and Flutter has not changed. So let me adjust this in play mode, and we'll see what happens. Cannot tell if that's in play mode yet or not. Going back to stop mode, that alignment mark seems to line up. And so does play mode. I bet you're wondering what the Wow and Flutter is doing there, but what I want to do right now, I think, is I want to turn this unit off. And I'm going to try to line up the play mode manually. I just want to see if I'm getting it to the right mark, because we've got several here. That must be it there. I'm looking through the front, and yes, that appears to be correct. Are there any alignment marks beyond that? No. So that is play mode right there. No other alignment marks anywhere nearby. So I'm going to power back on, let this mechanism reset. And I'm going to let it go play. And yes, it is lined up now. And we'll show you the Wow and Flutter. Zero 0.06, 0.04, 5. I think it's doing better, but I'm going to shut it off now. Now we're going to go back over here, and I want to see if the eject alignment mark lines up before I do much else. Okay, let's see here. This thing might actually need the full realignment procedure. But it does seem to be ejecting properly in front here. Oh, interesting. This will go into play mode without a tape present. So let me get the reference tape in there, and we'll see how that does. All right, we'll go back into play mode. And it is in play mode. That's what the reference tape gives me. Now I'm going to fiddle with the high voltage adjustment some more to see if I can get this any better. We'll see if it still needs just a little more pressure on those pinch rollers. And no, it doesn't seem to be doing too much more for the unit. So I'm going to leave her right there, I think. And then we're going to recap, I think. Well, actually, let me press on the door here. I don't know if I can press up on these pinch rollers, but I'll try that as well. No, that just makes it worse. No bubbles, screensaver. Trying to adjust on stuff here. Okay, I'm going to keep filming like this, and then I'll continue trying to adjust this. Yeah, I think that's about the best we're going to get. In its current state. I've got the marks aligned right now, so here's what let's do. Let me put the machine down in its normal orientation and we'll see what happens then. Could be pinch roller quality also causing this. It's not the door because I pressed on it and it made zero difference. So I'm going to try something else here. I'm going to put the door back on. We're going to see what it does with the door on. Yeah, it's not the door springs. I'm going to say it was a matter of the machine being out of alignment and also capacitors. I think we've got a twofold issue here. So we're going to recap this thing now and see what happens. Now I want to talk about my new capacitors here for a second. And I'm going to leave the bottom off the machine because it's very possible I will be doing a full realignment on that cam gear once I'm done recapping. But let me just make some space here. Okay, here's my box O caps I got for this unit. Basically everything that's going into the power supply is going to be Panasonic FR series. That's an FR. That's an FR. There's only one capacitor that's not going to be an FR, and it's this one. This is a Nikon KZN series. Basically the only Nikon capacitor of the right value that I could find that would match up to the specs of these Panasonic FRs. I have become very, very impressed with these Panasonic FRs in the time I've been doing this. They're just fantastic. So yeah, I am thinking about swapping out the pinch rollers in this thing. I'm still not sure what to go with. I don't know what's decent out there, but I will tell you right now that this uses the same pinch rollers as the Sony TCM200 mechanism. One's 11 millimeters, the other's 13 millimeters. It shouldn't be hard to find those. What I'd like to try is something with a brass core or something like that. Maybe even go up to Athens core pinch rollers. I'm kind of curious about those, but yeah, even if the WoW and Flutter doesn't get any better than it does now, this thing is a phenomenal recorder. I mean, basically a CD player with tape hiss, like I said earlier. But yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to recap the entire power supply over here, and then I'm going to recap the entire control board. And the other thing we have to consider with the WoW and Flutter is this is where all the quartz lock stuff is. So there could very well be issues up on this board as well. Either with these two capacitors here, because those are both in the quartz lock circuit, or with this connector here. I'm gonna have to check that as well. Could be some cracked solder joints or something like that. I'll reflow everything here, along with recapping this whole board, and we'll see what happens. Most of this board I didn't buy new capacitors for because I already had them. So yeah, let me get started and we'll see how things turn out. Alrighty then, we got the power supply recap and the control board recap finished. There's one capacitor that didn't get changed because I didn't have the right value for it, but it's kind of a minor one. It's back in there somewhere. You might spot it, you might not, I don't know. Anyhow, no major issues with this. I did have a couple of traces threaten to pull off the board there, but I got them fixed, and yeah, everything should be good now. I will mention that I did find one bad solder joint, or one suspicious solder joint, I should say, on the connector that goes to the motor board on the transport. It didn't look quite so good, and it was one of the two pins going to the FG servo coil over here. So yeah, that might have been part of the issue, and it might not have been. I'm not entirely sure. I'm starting to suspect that this may not be fixed at all, but we'll give it a shot. Now I have checked to make sure that the cam is still aligned off camera, and it is. So yeah, if the wound flutter isn't better now, then it's nothing to do with the electronics and everything to do with the transport. And I have a suspicion on that, but yeah, we got to test this and find out what happens. So you'll get a good look at the laptop here. We're going to use both test tapes. Yeah, that's kind of an improvement. 0.054, whatnot. It might settle down. Yeah, I'm going to say this is an improvement. A very minor one, but it is an improvement. 0.05. I can live with that. I'll tell you that right now. Let's try the reference tape. I suspect the reference tape is slightly worse than the Technics tape. I think the Technics is actually running a little bit better than the machine that made the Fix Your Audio tape. I believe Alex from A&T Audio measured the residual wow and flutter on one of these tapes as being 0.035%. So a little bit higher than you'd think it would be for that particular deck, but let's see what we get here. And yes, it is reading higher than my Technics is. Not by much. But what I suspect is going on here is the inner capstan belt may not be exactly what I would prefer for this unit. So yeah, you can see it's kind of bouncing around here in a way that would be consistent with oscillations in the recording machine. I think this machine is on par with the Technics right now. Possibly, I'm not exactly sure. I'm thinking what I might do is try to find a better source for these belts for these Akai machines, and also for the Carver and the Aiwa machines. There is a source for belts I'm thinking of trying in Europe. Poland, I think. And he offers entire kits, belts plus brass core pinch rollers for these Akai units and whatnot, and I'm thinking of trying those. I'm not sure if those will work. This is back to the Fix Your Audio tape anyway, before I go on here. But yeah, I'm noticing this thing is running closer to the target frequency than the Technics does. It's 3008 instead of 3014. So maybe this is going to be my test tape recorder, this A&D machine. Let me get you off the wow and flutter stuff here. I want to talk more about the capacitor job. I did have some issues on the power supply board, now that I'm mentioning it. You see all this crappy glue here? On this side, or on this capacitor, it was mostly fine. It's all away from all the pins of these diodes here, but over here, it was a problem. Because I had basically a short going from this jumper down here to something else over here. And yeah, I wasn't too keen on leaving that, so what I did was I cleaned off as much as I could. I ended up having to use hot air to soften the glue, and then I scraped it off, and then I went in with acetone and cleaned it off the rest of the way, and that's resolved now. So yeah, that should be good to go now. Every capacitor on the power supply now is FR, except for the one that's KZN. Apparently there was a reason why this machine was aligned from the factory the way it was, with the alignment marks on the cam gear not quite lining up. Turns out it was that way for a reason. That reason being, when you line up the marks the way the alignment procedure had them lined up, this machine doesn't meet the speed it's supposed to meet. I noticed while I was reviewing my footage that after I did the realignment on the cam gear, the machine was suddenly running at 3008 Hertz. And that seemed funny to me because I thought I remembered it running faster than that. So I went back and checked my footage, and sure enough, during the time it was giving me 0.035 wow and flutter, it was running at 3016, 3017 or something like that. So I thought, aha, maybe that's a clue. So what I did was I started tweaking on that control again. And I found that when I got it right back to where it was set, I got back to that 3017, 3016 or whatever. If I set it so the pinch roller pressure was too high, it went back down to 3008. Too low, 3008. So there's a sweet spot there it has to be in, and it's apparently in that sweet spot now, and it always has been in that sweet spot before I started monkeying with it. Okay, folks, I think I finally got this thing at least somewhat into shape. The issue with the wow and flutter appears to be twofold. One, my Fix Your Audio calibration tape is apparently toast. I'm not exactly sure what happened to it. Maybe it got some oil on it or something, or maybe one of the machines I've serviced in the past stretched it or something like that. But whatever it happens to be, this thing makes noise now when you run it through a machine like this one, and wow and flutter just kind of bounces around all over the place with this tape. This machine is still doing something like 0.04% up to 0.08% with this tape, but it is no longer doing it with this tape, the one the Technics made. Now, I've been inside the transport again because I thought I found the issue, and I thought it was the pinch rollers actually, because they were wobbling around just a little bit. So what I did was I contacted the owner of Fix Your Audio, where the pinch rollers came from, and I got his thoughts on it. Really nice guy, by the way. Very happy to keep doing business with him. But he mentioned that most often it seems to be when you get a situation like this where the deck appears to be oscillating between two different wow and flutter numbers, like it was with both tapes earlier, that it's usually something to do with the belt and back and the two flywheels. So what I did was, first off, I wanted to eliminate the belt, so I got these here. Real organized on my part. This is a Deck Tech belt, measured at 236 millimeters internal circumference. This is actually the one I got for the NAC 480, but it's the wrong one for that machine. But yeah, I tried this one. This one wanders all over the flywheels, so it gave me worse results. And this one is a PRW. Now I can't really show it to you, but it's an FRW. There we go, FRW 9.2, and it was worse as well. It's got the same internal circumference as the Deck Tech belt, but it's 4 millimeters wide. But yeah, this one didn't wander around, so I don't know. Maybe it's the reduced width that's the issue with that one. Anyhow, I got another Deck Tech belt here I could have tried, but decided not to, because it's a lot to get at the belt in this thing. Anyhow, while I was changing belts, I realized something. I hadn't done anything with the thrust bearings back here. See, let me come around here so you can see. That one right there, that one was falling out loose. In fact, it did fall out, so let me straighten up this wire bundle here. So yeah, what I had to do was I had to take that out, and I had to heat shape both clips on this side as well as both of the longer clips on the other side. So yeah, that's happy now, finally. This one over here is a bit loose, but I don't know if I can do anything about that one. But aside from that, this machine has now had this full calibration done on it. See, I was twiddling with the high voltage adjustment, or so I thought, and somehow I lost track of things and I started fiddling with a low voltage when I shouldn't have. So yeah, I had to do the full realignment on this, every step, and I did it 3 times over just to make sure. But yeah, the cam gear is now in full alignment. I've got the best settings going for it right now. And I am consistently getting 0.05% wound flutter with this tape, the one the Technics made. It's bouncing around all over the place with this tape. So we have to make a new tape. Or I have to make a new tape. Or I have to do a video, as maybe I mentioned, describing how to do a wound flutter tape in the future. Yeah, actually I think I will do that. I'm going to do a 3 kilohertz test tape now with the Denon, I think. Just so I've got one that's running in spec to replace the Fix Your Audio one. And then we'll come back in 2 or 3 weeks or whenever I feel like doing it to we'll do a 3 kilohertz tape with this, the Technics RSB 755, and maybe even the TAC V900X, and we'll see how that is. Let's see, am I forgetting anything else? Quite possibly. But yeah, the pinch rollers are still wobbling around just a little bit, so they may be part of the problem, but one of the things I noticed when I was doing some close-up video shooting with the phone at 4K, I noticed that the supply side capstan was a little bit wobbly, and I suspect that is going to keep it from ever doing its 0.025% wound flutter numbers. There does appear to be just a little bit of slop in the supply side capstan bearing. And you can't clock it around in order to try and improve it because of the way this mechanism is built. So, yeah, basically if I want the best possible numbers from this machine, what I have to do is I have to convert it over to single capstan. And I don't think I'm willing to do that, honestly. 0.05 is fine. I can live with that all day long. It doesn't have to make test tapes. I've got other machines that can do that. And I will have other machines that can do that. Including some extremely impressive machines. On the order of this one. Anyhow, I think that's going to be it for today, guys. I can't think of anything else to say in this video. I've got to clean up these wire bundles yet and put this back together, but because I need a 3 kilohertz test tape as soon as possible, I'm just going to go ahead and record one on the Denon DR-M3, and I will be using that one for the next, I don't know, few decks maybe, I don't know, whenever I get around to doing the wound flutter video. The Denon is tracking consistently at 2,998.5, and the speed variation is plus or minus 0.5 hertz or so. So it's an exceptionally stable machine. It should do fine for what I need it for. I suspect once I figure out the right frequency to throw into the Technics deck, it's going to be the one that keeps making my 3 kilohertz tapes, but that's fine. It's quartz lock direct drive too, so it'll do the job. So I did something stupid. You see this? This is the Osmo Action 4 clip for my phone here, and there's a very powerful magnet in this part of it. And while I still had it clipped to the phone, I wasn't watching where I was looking, or looking where I was watching, or watching where I was going, or going where I was looking or watching. And with this thing still attached to the phone, I set it down right on top of this tape. So the Technics speed test tape has been wiped out, erased, has to be redone. Oh well, another good reason to make a video about wound flutter, but for now I've got the Denon DR-M3 recording a new test tape at 3001 Hz to compensate for the 1 Hz slow it's running, and yeah, that one should suffice for now. But yeah, I better stop now before I break something else, so see you guys in the next video. Take care.